What's going on, Phlebotomists, Phleb family? We're here in the Phlebotomy Funnels training. My name is Khalil Thomas, and we're going to jump right into why most phlebotomy websites are failing, okay? And this is what you need to do instead, all right? So this is the secret formula to attracting, booking, and retaining lab clients on autopilot. So we're going to learn the four components every mobile phlebotomy business or even small business must have to consistently land high quality clients. So here are some of the things you're going to learn. And that's going to be the difference between a funnel and a website for your mobile phlebotomy business. You're going to understand why traditional websites do fail and why funnels work better for mobile phlebotomy businesses. You're going to also learn how to guide patients step by step with clarity and intention so there's no more confusion or chaos. Then you're going to learn about how to capture leads on autopilot. You're going to discover how a one-page opt-in can collect patients' information 24 hours, 7 days a week. And then we're going to talk about how to increase appointment values with upsells. So if you have a basic panel, we can do a comprehensive. So that's considered an upsell. So you're going to learn all of that in this class. So first things first is, what is a phlebotomy sales funnel, right? You're just like, wait, what is that? I never heard of that. So there is no perfect one sentence answer, okay? Because funnels can be used in so many different ways. You can create opt-in page. Opt-in pages. You'll have thank you pages. You'll have sales pages, but they're all doing different things, right? So it's all about that journey that you're putting that patient through to collect their information, to actually make a purchase, to do an upsell, a downsell. So funnels are more so like a journey, right? So that you can now have your patient go through this journey and you walk them through that specific journey in this funnel versus a website that doesn't do that at all, okay? So there is no one perfect sentence answer for what is a sales funnel. But a lot of the times when we have a funnel and a website side by side, it's so much easier for me to explain it so you guys can actually have a visual on it, because times most phlebotomists assume that a funnel and a website are the same exact thing, but they're completely not at all, okay? So you have your website here on the left-hand side to where everything on this website is, let's just say, your phlebotomy business, meaning you have your buttons for them to schedule an appointment, you have your labs that you offer, you have the times of the day that you offer these services, you have your DNA, your DOT, your phlebotomy labs that you offer. It's just all over the place, but it's never any journey on these websites. There's no strategy either, because usually what you'll do is you have your website up and running, and then you'll give your patient the actual link for them to hopefully schedule an appointment, right, on that website. But that's not a strategy. That's just you hoping that that patient actually schedules an appointment with you, right? So we got to understand with this specific type of platform, the website is there for a specific reason, but it's not there for a journey, all right? And we want to have a journey given to our patients, which is why we utilize funnels so we can give them a journey to go through, all right? So on the right-hand side, there is a funnel, and you'll see how the funnel works as far as walking that specific patient through this journey. So they'll get this lead magnet from you, they'll get this tripwire offer, they'll have the core offer, and there'll be a thank you page, maybe even an upsell or downsell. But it's a journey now because this person or lead is now interested in your services. Websites do not provide that. And a lot of times websites are converting into funnels these days. So think about it. You go and get a U-Haul truck. When you get a U-Haul truck, what do they try to upsell you on, right? Your insurance, because you need insurance, to feel protected whenever you're driving this U-Haul truck. And what else do they sell you? A dolly, right? So it just keeps giving you upsells. So that's considered a funnel. They're sending you through a journey so that you can purchase more things after you got that one thing you absolutely wanted. Same thing for a plane ticket. You buy a plane ticket, what happens next? They're going to upsell you on what? The actual baggage, right? Then they're going to upsell you on what? Where you want to sit at, right? So all of these things are a journey that this specific or these companies are sending their customers through. You need to do the same thing for your mobile phlebotomy business. Send them through a journey, all right? So they're going to get this information from you, this value, and then you're going to have them go through these specific funnels with a call to action so you're able to close sales for your phlebotomy services, okay? So for traditional websites, as I said, there wasn't much strategy. And most of the phlebotomy websites out there were basically digital brochures. Can we all agree to that? So something that looked nice, it listed services like DNA testing or DOT testing, and it made the business owner feel legit because you're able to offer those specific tests, right? But there was no real process to guide a visitor to become a paying patient at all. It was just a website, here it is, book a call, book an appointment, and that's it. But where's the strategy at, Plebs? This is why so much money is left on the table, because we don't have strategy with our websites, with our landing pages, with our opt-in pages, with our funnel. We have to have strategy, and we have to understand the psychology of business, so you're understanding how customers make purchases, okay? So here's a very simple illustration, a simple picture of a website, okay? So in this website, you'll be able to see different things that a phlebotomy business may have, right? So they'll have the link for them to schedule an appointment, for your patients to schedule an appointment. There'll be buttons there for people to schedule a lab draw or a stat draw or a DOT or a DNA test, like all these things on this website. But as your traffic's coming in here, right, your traffic's going to be coming in from Instagram, from Facebook, from ads, right? They're going to come onto this website and see all these things, but they're going to get confused and lost because you're not sending them through a journey. You're just telling them to buy or schedule an appointment. And here's what I do and offer, but it's not valuable. You know what I mean? So now you're going to keep these people confused and lost, and now you're going to hit a brick wall. And that's what we have right here. So websites will give your patients a brick wall. Okay, so stop depending on websites. It's not for mobile phlebotomy businesses. Granted, you still should have one, but that's not going to be how we get our customers, get our patients. That's going to be there for information about your company, about your phlebotomy services, but it's not the end goal to retain and get clientele on autopilot, okay? So imagine, phlebotomists, you hire a phlebotomy marketing rep, okay? And they're going to stand outside a clinic or even a hospital, anywhere, right? And they're going to hand out brochures, business cards, hoping that someone takes one, flips through it, and decides to come back later or schedule an appointment. Would you pay that phlebotomist, that marketing rep, to just stand out there hoping that someone will schedule an appointment? Honestly, would you pay them that? I hope not. And I only say that because if you're just hoping that someone will schedule an appointment, there's no guarantee, right? There's no, I know that if I pay this person to go out there, do the marketing, give out business cards, brochures, that I'll get an appointment. You're just hoping for that. So there's no more hoping, Phlebs, okay? We have to be clear and specific for our patients to understand what it is that we're offering. And we have to be strategic on how we get their information as well, which is what we're going to go over. So don't forget that word hope, H-O-P-E, because we're going to be done hoping, okay? So one of the core truths of marketing is a confused patient will always say no. All right, screenshot that if you can, okay? And most phlebotomy websites are confusing, 100%. So we're going to understand and just look at some of the things that are on these websites that are really just confusing for our patients. So there's too many buttons on your website, just too many things to click on. Contact us, schedule an appointment, get your lab tested. It's just so many buttons on these websites that I'm noticing and I'm realizing, and this is why many of your phlebotomy websites are not converting how you want them to. You also have too many lab test options. Listen, do not be a jack of all trades and master of none. Have one specific niche, focus on that specific niche, and be the master at that. Why do you have DNA, DOT, CLIA, rapid testing, phlebotomy? You are not a reference laboratory. I'll repeat. You are not a reference laboratory. Be an expert in that one specific thing, and that's it. If your niche is cardiovascular, you should have about maybe 2 or 3 cardiovascular tests that you can offer to patients that you're a master at explaining. They'll be like, hey, this is the expert for this specific niche. So if I have a patient that's a cardiovascular patient and they need lab work services, I know exactly who to go to, okay? So stop making yourself be the one-stop shop for everything, because when it comes down to marketing, it'll be hard for you to market because you have so many things to market that's out of that specific niche you want to focus on. All right, so you're going to have no explanation of lab tests. That's all on your website. You don't even explain what a CBC does or how a CBC can be beneficial for some patients, right? You have to be the expert. You have to create authority, but you also have to know your stuff. And a lot of phlebotomists don't speak because they don't know. And a person that don't speak enough don't know enough. So you have to be able to feel comfortable knowing more than just your regular, what arm works best for you, small pinch, here's your draw, and you just send a specimen out. It's so much more than that. One of the books called Thinking We're Rich by Napoleon Hill, it actually says to have specialized knowledge, meaning you know knowledge outside of what you've been taught, so that you're able to then explain to people, so that you're now the authority figure and the expert for that specific niche. So you got to be able to explain these lab tests, what they do, what are in these specific panels, what are the biomarkers. You have to be able to explain what it does for this patient so they can understand why they would need this specific lab test for them, okay? And then you don't have no niche or target market. Listen, if you start this phlebotomy business and you have a website up and running and you have so many different lab tests, and let's just say a cancer patient were to go there and they wanted their family to get tested because it may be hereditary, right? So they want to do a basic cancer panel, right? And they go to your website and you have 12 different tests that has nothing to do with cancer, okay? And they go to another website to where a phlebotomist is focusing on oncology patients only. So they got the comprehensive, they got the basic, they got the male, the female cancer. Which one do you think they're going to go to? The one that has maybe a cancer panel in there, but with 12 other tests that are outside of cancer, or the phlebotomy business that actually focuses on cancer panels because they had a loved one who survived or may have passed away, God forbid, from cancer, and now they're making this their mission, their life's dream to find preventative care for these patients with this specific lab test. Who do you think that patient's going to go to? That specific phlebotomy company. So you need to make your business so much niche down, you know exactly who you want to target. Don't say nursing homes you want to target. Don't say group homes or assisted living facilities. You have to be so specific, because now it's like, okay, if you want to target nursing homes, what kind of patients go to nursing homes, or what kind of diseases do the patients that go to the nursing homes usually have? So I would rather you say, hey, my niche is Alzheimer's patients, okay? So now you can say, okay, I know where the people that needs Alzheimer's testing will be located. And now you can say at nursing homes, because that's your target market and that's where they congregate to sometimes, right? So we have to be able to have specialized knowledge and have a niche that we can specifically target and focus on, so that people can know and see us as the experts for that specific lab test, patient population, and our niche. We got to know the niche. Stop thinking that you can just do everybody when you cannot. Okay, if you had a patient that was a cardiovascular patient, a heart patient, you want to send their specimens to a oncology laboratory, right? No. So you want to be focused on one specific area, one specific niche, and be a master at that moving forward for your phlebotomy business, okay? And then on that website, it's just too much going on. It's just a lot. Okay, you got lab tests here, you got your About You page at the very front. It just throws everything off. And again, it's no journey for that specific patient. We need to have a journey for our customers and our patients for our mobile phlebotomy services, okay? Now, let's talk about this funnel. So the funnel, or the Phleb funnel, on the other hand, is built with intention. So we're intentionally doing this so that we can get this person, this patient, to go through our funnel and follow through our journey. So let's just say that first yellow spot right there will be a specific lead magnet, right? So we give things away for free. As I tell you guys and teach you guys in my one-to-ones, we have to be able to do some giveaways. We have to do some reciprocity. We have to give some value. We have to be able to have trust built, okay? You can't expect people to get your services if you're not willing to give out some information, some value, some knowledge, okay? Because there's some ways to catch fish. You can put a hook on and some bait and throw it out there in the pond, and you may catch one fish, right? You may get a net and you throw the net. You may catch a lot of fish. Some fish may come out and get out of the net, or some are feeling pressured to be in there, so they really wasn't wanting it. So now they feel pressure because you threw that net on them, so they have to be in that net, right? Now, my favorite way to actually catch fish is by becoming a coral reef. Yes, a coral reef pretty much is what you're going to become, meaning you're a safe space for your patients, meaning you don't have to pressure them. You don't have to force them to buy services. What you're doing is giving out value, giving out information, knowledge to your specific niche, so they can understand that you are the expert, you are the authority for this specific population or this specific niche. You're not pressuring them to get services or to buy your phlebot or to book an appointment with you, right? You're giving out knowledge genuinely so they can actually see and know that you're the expert for this specific population. So become a coral reef, okay? Have your community swimming all around you to where you're not pressuring them, okay, Phlebs? Don't sit there and just say, buy my service, schedule an appointment, get lab work. No, give people some things first so that you can ask them later down the line, because it's reciprocity. What are you willing to give to your patients, your customers, your audience in exchange for trust? So you have to give that value. You have to give that knowledge. You have to be able to give more so that you're able to receive more, okay? So become a coral reef, all right? So don't throw a net, don't throw a hook out there. Be a coral reef. Be a community, a place where patients that are related to your niche can come to and get value, information, so they can go into your funnel and walk through, because now they trust you. Okay, and people are going to trust you off your free stuff. Okay, so if your free stuff's really good, they're going to want to buy. Okay, so remember that, because people and patients are going to are judging you based off your free stuff. So if your free stuff is really excellent, it's perfect, it's really good and knowledgeable and valuable, they're going to want to move forward with your phlebotomy services. But become a coral reef. Okay, and again, funnels work just like plane tickets. When you buy a plane ticket, again, you're going to have to go through a funnel. So you're buying not just the plane ticket, but then they're going to upsell you on different types of seating, right? You got to pay for your bag. So you're not just paying for the plane ticket, you're paying for other things as well. But because we trust that specific airline so much, right, we're going to go and get that ticket or get that thing, right, from them so that we can go through the funnel, and now it's a journey. All right, so it's the same thing for your phlebotomy business, but we got to be able to understand that we're doing this for a reason, so that we can collect patients' information, so that we're able to then give them a call for cold calling or warm calling. Okay, but again, it's intentional. And then every phlebotomy funnel that we do have or we do create will always have a CTA, which is a call to action, and that's going to be what we want that specific patient to do. So we want them to book an appointment. We want them to schedule a call. We want them to get this free PDF. So comment the word cancer or comment the word cardiac, whatever. But we have a call to action in place for patients that go through your mobile phlebotomy funnel. Okay. Now, here is an example of a phleb funnel. This is one of my mentees, Rena. So she actually beat cancer 3 times, right? So now her life's journey, her mission is to help out other people catch cancer early on versus waiting until the last minute. So remember earlier when we talked about that word hope, right? We hope that a patient scheduled an appointment. We hope that a patient books or comes to our website. Right here is a perfect example of us not hoping anymore, and we are actually executing on this. So for instance, it's like hiring your best phlebotomy sales rep, okay, and putting them outside your mobile phlebotomy unit, okay? Now, by this time, instead of hoping phlebotomists, what we're doing now is we're stopping each person that walks by, and we're asking them for their name and their contact information, and we're going to find out exactly what they need, and then guide them directly to the services that solves their problem. You see how that works? So now we're collecting data and information versus just hoping that these people will call and schedule an appointment for our lab work services. There's a difference. So we got people that are giving, or phlebotomists that are giving out brochures and business cards hoping, and we got phlebotomists out there that are actually collecting patients' information, still giving out some things, maybe some brochures and business cards, but we now are getting their first name, their email address, and telephone number. Okay, these are leads. Okay, I would pay a person to do that, right? Because we're collecting data, information, and we're turning our cold leads into warm leads, because if they are interested in what we are giving away for free, most likely they're going to want to become a warm lead, because now they went from cold to warm. But we got to know that by reaching out to them, talking to them, making relationships. But how do we do that if all we're doing is hoping if they actually schedule an appointment with us for our mobile phlebotomy services? No more hoping, phlebotomists. It's now time for us to execute. So every patient you see, you come across, you're going to collect their information, even if it's just their email, so that we can have them on our email list, so that we can send out promotions, okay, discount, coupons, all right, advertisement. So that's going to be the big difference from what phlebotomist has been doing to what we need to do now, okay? Because if what you've been doing isn't getting you the results that you need to try something new. So here is an example of what we will be getting into as far as creating your phlebotomy funnel for your patients, okay? So now we're collecting their information in exchange for that free thing we're going to give away, whether it's a free PDF, whether it's a free checklist, whether it's a free value or free training. We want to give them something in exchange for their information so that we can make relationships with them, give them good value, and get services so that we're able to have a client book our phlebotomy services, okay? And now, once that patient is inside the funnel, okay, because now they're in the funnel, they put their information in, first name, last name, phone number, and email address. Now we have them in our funnel. We have their information. We have them in our database. So now they're going to get that free thing, and now we have their number. So now we got permission to contact these people. You see how we just now manifested people to us now? You see how we're not chasing after contracts and partnerships? They're now coming to us because of what we're putting out, the value, the knowledge, the expertise. Now people are trusting us because they're going to judge us based off of free stuff. And if our free stuff is really good, they're going to want to get services. But it starts with that value. It starts with that information. It starts with that knowledge, phlebotomist, okay? So once that patient is inside the funnel and gets what they came for, the phlebotomy sales rep doesn't stop there. No, no, no. So they offer additional services that perfectly complements the original lab test. So services that align with the exact niche you're focusing on. So this not only supports the patient on a deeper level, but it also increases the value of each appointment. So for example, Plebs, let's just say if you are dealing with, I don't know, a cardiovascular patient, okay, and your niche is cardiac testing because you had an aunt or uncle or family member that may have struggled with smoking. They always are a smoker. You see them coming and going. They got a cigarette in their mouth. The car smells like cigarettes. You got ashes everywhere. They just were a big smoker, but they seem fine because you always seen them in this way. Nothing's changed or declined, but they seem fine, not even understanding how high their LDL is. And their LDL, that's the bad cholesterol. But it's so high because they smoke so much, right? Because now plaques build up in that specific patient's artery, which causes them to maybe have cardiovascular disease later down the line. So we need to be able to stop that. So if your life's dream and goal and mission is to now help out cardiovascular people or patients because your family member went through it and may not have survived, now what you can do is offer a basic heart panel. And that's all, a CRP, high sensitivity, and a lipid panel together. So those two biomarkers together make a one basic heart panel. So now that's one thing you can offer. But now if that person's interested in that service, what else can you offer as an upsell? So you can go from basic, right, to now a comprehensive. You see how that works? So now if a person wants a basic heart panel, which is completely fine, why not upsell them to a comprehensive so that we can go into more of a depth reading of that specific person's blood draw or blood services, okay? Or that patient can just know exactly what's going on comprehensively in their body, okay? So that's an upsell that we can absolutely offer to our patients. So we can go from a basic panel to now a comprehensive to an ultimate if you wanted to, but we have to be able to stay in that niche, all right? Because all a comprehensive is, adding a CMP, there's a few other lab tests that you offer in there, but the point is you go from basic to comprehensive or ultimate, whatever one you want to do, but make sure that it complements that specific niche, okay? So when your funnel flows like this, two powerful things are going to happen, phlebotomists. So your patient experience is going to improve 100,000% because now it's simple, it's easy, and it's also stress-free. They get exactly what they came for without any confusion at all. And then also you increase your revenue. Yes, because the funnel is intentionally designed to guide your patients towards more services that supports their health goals, okay? So patients going through this in a breeze, they're not confused, they're not clicking all these buttons or wondering how to schedule an appointment. No, you're sending them through a funnel, a journey. So now they're not confused, they're not lost, they're going through this journey that you're setting them into, right? And now not only are you doing that, but you're giving them an offer, the elaborate services, and then you're gonna have an upsell afterwards so that not only are you making more profit, but you're also helping this patient know more in depth of what's going on with their actual lab services or their lab work, okay? So it works out perfectly and it flows so much more easier for phlebotomists. It's such a fresh breath of air, I promise you. Just doing it this way just makes it so much more seamless and easier to run a phlebotomy funnel for your mobile phlebotomy business, okay? Now, Phlebs, this is what a mobile phlebotomist should do with their funnel, okay? So first, you're gonna send your patient to a simple opt-in page with just one goal, okay? And that one goal is to collect their name and contact information, okay? So remember, we're doing this for intentional purposes. So we're giving away free things, free knowledge, free value for what? So that we can collect our patient's information, their contact information. Okay, so once we do that, we're gonna then walk them through a sales process tailored to just one lab service. Don't confuse them with all these lab tests, please. Don't bring up DNA, DOT, pregnancy tests, rapid test is just going to confuse your audience and they will not buy. What we said before, a confused patient will always say no. All right. So we're going to walk them through the sales process and tailor that one lab service to that patient. And then once that patient makes that purchase, we're going to present an upsell for that specific patient. Once we perform or present that upsell for that specific patient, they have the option to now go from a basic lab test to now a more comprehensive, a more in detail test, okay? So it's literally a walkthrough. You see how we're just guiding this specific patient through this whole entire funnel process. And then finally, you're gonna have a chance to upgrade or add an additional services for that patient too. So it just works the same way for like an upsell or a downsell. But now you have this person in your funnel. So now you're able to have a chance to have them upgrade to where you can actually make it more specific for that specific patient needs, depending on their niche or your niche specifically. So now they go through the journey. You collect their information. You offer that one lab test, you upsell them to a specific thing. You can even downsell them now because, hey, if they can't afford that one thing that's upsell, I'm sorry, that one price that's an upsell, you can downsell them, but you still close a sale. So you had that chance to create this funnel, to have this patient go through this journey with you for your mobile phlebotomy business, okay? So this is what your funnel should do, what it should look like, what an opt-in page is, what the intentional goal is for your mobile phlebotomy business, okay? Now, I want every phlebotomy funnel to do this same process, okay, and follow the same process. The first thing is to have an actual phlebotomy hook, which is going to be number one. And we're going to start with a hook to grab your patient's attention. So I want you to come up with a story that is very, relatable, and it also goes over specifically some things that you may have overcame, some things that are happening in your specific county, right? So let's just say, for instance, if you are doing cardiovascular testing, and your county is at a high of, 88%. Last year it was at 78, so it went up 10%. Now you can talk about how you had a loved one that passed away from cardiovascular disease that no one even knew about. It was the last minute. But guess what? In our county, we're being affected at an 88% of diagnosis rate, so it's really high. But now we're going to hook that person in. So now you can say that to where now they can be like paying attention to you and focusing on whatever it is that you're trying to say. But we got to hook that person in. Create an actual story that is relatable to your customers, that's factual, that you can find online. Literally go onto Google and literally find statistics of cardiovascular disease in my county so that you're able to have this data presented so it can back up your mission and vision statement for your mobile phlebotomy business, okay? So get their attention, grab it, and make sure you execute this with a phlebotomy story. So now this is a story that can be something that's personal for your cardiovascular patients, because if you're a heart patient or you have a patient that had dealt with this, you can now have a story that you can include. So you hook them in, then you tell the story, right? That's either relatable or something that is going to catch their attention and want to listen to more of what you have to say, because what you're doing right now is creating trust. You're creating credibility, okay? You want people to feel like they can hear you, but also they can understand you because they've been through that same exact thing, all right? They lost a loved one because they were a big-time smoker. They lost a loved one because they didn't catch this disease at an early and benign stage. They lost a loved one because they didn't know their cholesterol readings until the last minute, all right? So tell your story. Inspire these patients, okay? Next is going to be patient value. This is important. Again, how I'm giving you value, give value to your customers, to your patients, because we want to create value around the services that you're offering. That's why we need to make it that one specific niche that you're focusing on. It needs to be so valuable that we want to get more information, that we want to learn more. I want you only to draw my blood because you understand this niche. So give me value, give patients value, give them the information that they absolutely deserve, okay? Because a lot of times patients would go to a doctor's office, they'll get tested, and then the doctor would just give them a PDF and tell them, go about their way, give them the medication and say, have a good day. That's not enough value for a patient. And sometimes doctors just don't have enough time to teach. This is where we come in and talk about those lab values. We can talk about what's a high cholesterol reading, what's a good, and what's a okay, right? But we have to give that value, phlebotomists. It's now time for you to get specialized knowledge, not for just yourself, but for your audience, for your patients, and for your niche. And then last but not least, the lab offer. So you have a problem, which business owners recognize, and then you're going to have a solution, which actual phlebotomy business owners come up with. So your solution now is that lab offer. So now you see that there's a high of 88% in your county for cardiovascular disease. And now you're going to offer an actual test that can catch the cholesterol test or cholesterol lab test for these patients so that we can catch this disease before it becomes stage 3, stage 4, right? So you have an offer for them. So again, talk about a problem, and the problem now has a solution with our mobile phlebotomy business or our phlebotomy services with this specific lab test. All right, so make an offer that moves the patient to the next step. Now, this isn't about being tech savvy. It's about knowing how to guide your patients step by step through a seamless journey, phlebotomists, one that gives them clarity, builds trust, and ultimately helps both of you win. All right. Now, let's talk about the secret phlebotomy formula. Okay, the formula. So I want you guys to really digest these questions, okay? So that you can understand how this formula is set up, all right? So now that we understand the foundations, let's break down the actual framework that drives your phlebotomy funnel, okay? So I call this a secret phlebotomy formula, and it revolves around 4 simple but powerful questions. Here they are. Let's go. So and also this formula is what we'll be using as a compass moving forward. So always use this. This is going to be crucial. So please take a screenshot once you have once we go through all of them, just so you can understand your niche, your target audience, where they're located, etc. Okay. So first is going to be question 1, which is, who is your dream patient? So if you could pick the kind of patient that lights you up, someone who makes you jump out of bed, ready to serve, what would they look like? Be specific. The more clearly you define your dream patient, the easier it will be to find and attract them. So who is it? Is it a cancer patient? What do they look like? What's the avatar? Are they weak from chemotherapy? Do they have hair loss? Are they immunocompromised? Like, what does that patient look like? And why is that your dream patient? Okay. Next is going to be, where are they hanging out at? So once you know who they are, the next step, phlebotomist, is figuring out where they spend their time. So are they in Facebook support groups? Do they follow certain health influencers on Instagram? Are they part of a gym or a dialysis center or a wellness clinic? So once you find out where your ideal patient is hanging out at, you'll be able to get your offer in front of them, and it becomes so much easier and simpler for you and for that patient. Next question is going to be, what bait will you use to attract these patients? Yes, bait. Okay, and this, also known as lead magnets. Okay, so now that you know where your patients are, you need a way to grab their attention. So what kind of bait can you use to stop their scrolling? Because they're on Instagram scrolling. Okay, so maybe it's a free guide on how to prepare for lab work, or a checklist for expecting moms, or a video explaining the importance of early cholesterol testing. See, this is how you pull them into your world, phlebotomist. From there, you'll tell your story, you'll build trust, and you'll make a clear offer that speaks to exactly what they need. And then finally is going to be the 4th question. So screenshot all of this. So what unique result can you create for them? And we're going to be completely real, because this is where the magic happens. But patients don't come to you for services. They come to you for results, okay? So maybe they want peace of mind about their health, faster turnaround times for urgent labs, or even lab testing from the comfort of their home. They just want that convenience, right? So your job is to figure out what transformation or outcome you can give that specific patient and build a system around delivering that, okay? Because when you nail down these 4 questions, phlebotomists, everything else becomes more clearer, I promise you. This is the foundation for building a patient-focused, high-converting, purpose-driven phlebotomy business that doesn't just grow, but it also thrives, okay? And then if you want to actually create your own phlebotomy funnel, all you need to do is comment the word funnel in the comment section below, so that you can now manage patient leads like a pro. And make sure to follow us at Phlebotomy Headquarters, and I'll see you guys in the next video.